Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lindy's Magpie Reads. This is a place where I talk about books, and I have 6 great books to tell you about. But before I get to those, a little bit about what's been happening around here. We have had snow in Victoria. This is probably not a surprise to many of you watching this channel because there's been a lot of cold weather across North America, a lot of snow. It kind of brings me back to my Edmonton days. Anyway, got the shoveling done. Our dog was so excited about snow. I don't know if it's the smells or what, but yeah, she loved it. Anyway, snowy, cold days made me feel like spending time in the kitchen with the oven on. And so I made cookies. I made ginger cookies from my mom's old cookbook. She used to be a lab technician before she married my dad. And so there's this lab tech cookbook that is much bespattered and has many great recipes in it. And I also made Finnish butter cookies in 2 different variations. I did chocolate ones and Earl Grey tea butter cookies. Our freezer now is full of cookies, ready for guests. And another thing that I did in this past week was I heard Ivan Coyote perform their show Playlist. This is actually the second time that I watched it. I saw the premiere a year ago at Victoria's Out Festival, and it was back by popular demand. Very much worth seeing it again. So if you're not familiar with Ivan Coyote, they're a trans non-binary storyteller, and they have some great books, so I recommend those as well. And I've got 3 queer books to tell you about today, so let's get on to the books. Starting with Alan Hollinghurst's latest novel, Our Evenings. A nice, big, fat chunkster of a book. It's the life of one man, David Wynne, whose father was a dark-skinned Burmese man. He never met him. His mother is white. She's an English dressmaker. And David grew up in England and became a famous actor. So when we first meet David, he's in his 60s, and we know he's got a husband, Richard. The novel goes back in time, so we follow him through his childhood in the 1960s and all through his growing up years as a brown-skinned Eurasian man in England, and right up to pretty much contemporary times with Brexit and COVID pandemic. This is the kind of story I really like, following somebody through their entire life. And you know you're in good hands with Alan Hollinghurst. He won the Booker Prize for The Line of Beauty, which I loved. And this was on the best books of 2024 by at least 2 booktubers, Russell of Ink and Paper and Eric Carl Anderson's channel. I will link their best of videos down below if you want to watch those, if you missed them. I probably would have picked this up anyway. And I found that a little bit in the middle part kind of dragged for me, but that's only because there was a lot about David in his 20s and 30s and his romantic and sexual relationships with men that I found less interesting, but you know, that's me. Overall, I really enjoyed this a lot. And I think my very favorite part is the fact that David's mother is a lesbian in a discreet relationship. And so the glimpses that I got into lesbian life just delighted me. And I'm going to read you a teeny part from a segment where David is in his teens and his mother and her partner Esme are having a party. Back at the table, I opened more bottles of wine, the white with the chill off now, and took them around. "Ah, you've got a first-rate barman, Esme," the woman said, bucked up by suddenly having another full glass. "I'm taking him home with me, Avril," said Connie, holding on tight to my arm, "just so that you know." "I'm very sorry, Connie, but we simply can't spare him," Mum said, and laughed, pretty tipsy now and gripping my other arm. I saw the practical worry of the party that had eaten up the morning and afternoon was completely forgotten, and I was pleased I'd helped bring this about. We were a team, after all. And again, as I moved on to the next group, the novel thing was to hear her raised voice amid the general laughter. I felt a sudden loneliness alongside pride and relief. The way that the complicated emotions are described in here really puts this book over the top for me. David, for example, when he knows that a man is finding him attractive because he's of a certain type, an Asian man, and yet he also is happy that somebody finds him attractive, so the complicated and yet realistic emotions. Oh, yeah. I recommend this too. Next up is one that I listen to in audiobook format. It's Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino. And I think this is the author's fourth novel. I've only read one other book by her, 2 a.m. at the Cat's Pajamas, and I remember loving it. Her character in here, actually 3 of the characters, or important characters in here, are queer, including Adina, who is like David Wynne in Our Evenings, growing up in a single-parent family. At the point where her father deserts the family, her mother says to her, "Listen, Adina, your father is gone. This is one of those good and bad things. There are so many hard times, you may as well celebrate them." So the thing is, this is speculative fiction, and Adina is an alien in a human body. She communicates with her people through dreams at night and through a fax machine where she's reporting on human behavior. So, like the author, Adina is also Italian-American, growing up in Philadelphia. I don't know if Marie-Helene Bertino is also an alien, but because so many of us often feel like we don't belong or there's something alien about us, there's something about being lonely, feeling alienated. This book really strikes a chord of understanding, I think. And it's just got enough of a quirkiness. So, for example, Adina is a writer, and she's writing for her college's newspaper. She's been asked to cover a lacrosse game, and when she turns it in. The editor can't believe what she's written, because she's written things like, the girls pretend not to notice the other team when they take the field, but it's clear they are awash in jealousy. The late season sunlight makes the grass glow like milk. And the editor is saying to her, but you didn't even say what the score was or the names of the teams. And Adina says, but wouldn't they already know that? Anyway, she's such a great character. I've really enjoyed listening to this audiobook. And next is a biography of a queer woman, George Sand, True Genius, True Woman. And this was written by Séverine Vidal and illustrated by Kim Consigny. It is in graphic novel format, in black and white. And it's hefty. George Sand, this was her pen name. She wrote more than 30 novels and a whole bunch of different plays. She was born Aurore Dupin in France in 1804, and she died in 1876. And her life is like a soap opera. So much going on. It was tempestuous. She was in the social circles of many artistic people and had many lovers, both men and women. And she left her husband. She had custody battles with him. She was a woman with strong passions, including a passion for social justice and universal suffrage, and lots of sex. At one point, she had an affair going on with Frédéric Chopin, and Eugène Delacroix, the painter, was staying at her country home as well. So in this illustration, you can see her writing at one window and Chopin on the piano at another, and Delacroix in another window painting away. And she was happiest when she was surrounded by people and having parties. And it was her writing that supported herself and having servants and all that. So it made me kind of think about reading something by George Sand, because I never have. So if you have any suggestions of books you think that I would like, please let me know in the comments down below. Next, I have a couple of Canadian nonfiction in audio format, starting with On Borrowed Time, North America's Next Big Quake. It's written by Gregor Craigie, and he narrates the audiobook. So, as the title suggests, this is earthquake science, and it is for a general readership. So he has interviewed seismologists and engineers and emergency response people, all kinds of experts, as well as people who have survived earthquakes around the world, and talks about earthquake predictions and how at this point it's not possible to predict very exactly, but also preparedness. And I felt like this was really good for me because, as he said in this book, there are some people who are living in earthquake zones, like along the West Coast, where Victoria is located, where I am, who prefer not to think about what might happen. And then there are those who want to be prepared, know what to expect, what's the where's the safe place to be if you start feeling a shake, what kind of things you might want to have on hand, like a water purification system, for example, in the event of some kind of disaster like that. Gregor Craigie is a Canadian journalist who seems to be particularly interested in public policy. I've read his book, Our Crumbling Foundation, which is about the housing crisis in Canada, and also a children's book about walls throughout history. And I really like his style. And also in a book like this, there is specific terminology like subduction and lahar, tsunami. And he always explains what those words are, so you don't have to go and look them up. A fascinating book with important information in it. So the next audiobook, also Canadian, is called The Certainty Illusion: What You Don't Know and Why It Matters, and it's by Timothy Caulfield. He is a Canadian law professor at the University of Alberta. He specializes in ethical issues in medical research, and boy, does he get worked up about bad science. He uses a really vivid imagery. Sometimes I find his writing just a bit over the top. Like he'll say, we are adrift in a storm of information chaos, and we are tearing down the lighthouses. This is a knowledge production and distribution crisis. So in this book, he talks about things like what he calls health halos. So this would be the way that terms like natural, clean, chemical-free, holistic, and immune boosting are meant to be shorthand for this is good, this is virtuous. But often they're actually meaningless and deceptive. So they're used to make us think a product is better than it is. He says, if you see the term toxin-free, replace it with the term evil spirits-free, and see if it still has the same persuasive force. There's a lot in here about predatory scientific journals, and also fake academic journals. So the fake ones are ones that are created especially to bolster nasty ideas like anti-vax or climate change denial, that sort of thing. I found the section on online reviews the most interesting. So I learned that ratings and reviews have become the most important factor affecting online purchases and decisions. It was to a degree that shocked me because I'm apparently an outlier and I would prefer to ask family and friends. I go to consumer reports on my library's website and look up professional reviews. But that's not the norm. And many online reviews are straight up fake. They're either purchased or generated by an AI bot or written by someone with an ulterior motive. Now, the degree to which the online reviews are fake varies depending on the kind of product or service, but Generally, experts agree that somewhere between 25% and 60% of reviews are fake. And it's becoming harder and harder to detect the fakes as AI technology is becoming better at creating these reviews. There's some great information at the end of the book about what you can do as an individual to counteract these kinds of things. He says to watch for science-y sounding language, which is used to obfuscate, exploit, and sell. Words like stem cells, regenerative medicine, genomics, nanotechnology, and the microbiome, and quantum physics. Are these claims supported by actual research, or are they just being used as buzzwords? He says, take a look when goodness is used as a marketing strategy. Natural is often used to promote supplements of questionable health value and ultra-processed foods. Look at the ingredients. All right, so February is Black History Month in Canada, and the Edmonton Public Library has put out a new resource guide called African and Caribbean Canadian Books in Color. If you are looking for suggestions, I'm going to link this resource guide in the notes down below. To celebrate Black History Month, I am planning to read at least one book by a Black author every week. So that leads me to the final book that I've got to tell you about. It is a children's picture book, My Daddy is a Cowboy. It's written by Stephanie Seals and illustrated by C.G. Esperanza. Both creators are Afro-Latino from the United States. And this book won a Coretta Scott King Illustrator Award and a Caldecott Honor. The artwork is done in oils on paper. It is so vibrant and joyful. And the story is about a Panamanian American father in Southern California and his daughter. So we follow them from the early morning. The daddy wakes up his little girl and they're going off to do something special together. They take a motorcycle to a nearby ranch where there are horses, and they go riding and they come into the streets of the city in the early morning hours. And it just has such a lovely, joyous feeling to it. The celebration of being a cowboy and combining that with living in a city is something I have never seen before. And this picture book is an absolute delight. Check it out. I found a digital copy in my library's Hoopla collection. It's fantastic. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I didn't mention that I'm wearing my new shawl/poncho that I just finished knitting from alpaca yarn that I dyed with kitchen scraps. I've talked about this as I was working on it. It's all finished. I'm really happy with it. You can see it a little bit. Maybe I'll pop in a full picture. Anyway, I want to thank you so very much for watching. I always appreciate hearing from you, so please do say hello in the comments down below. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I've talked about, or if you want to pick them up. Always good to hear from you. So until the next time, happy reading, everybody, and bye for now.